There was a medical emergency in the Oval Office yesterday,
creating high-value jobs. But today we... Oh, you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah.
Press out. We're going.
Yeah.
We're going to break away for just a moment as the White House addresses what appears to be a health emergency in the Oval Office.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people there to discuss a brand new plan by Eli Lilly and a couple of other pharmaceutical companies to lower the price of weight loss drugs and for Medicaid to cover the price of those drugs so that obesity could be handled by government aid and assistance. It was a big day. It was a big deal. And one of the guests, a guy by the name of Gordon, passed out, fainted in the Oval Office. They kicked the press out for about an hour or so. They got medical attention. Dr. Oz was right there on the scene because Dr. Oz was, fun fact, making a speech. Also, a lot of other doctors, Health and Human Services, RFK Jr. was there. And of course, if you're going to pass out, the Oval Office is a great place to do it because they have the best medical staff on hand and they also have a surgeon there. I mean, it's really, if I were going to pass out somewhere, I don't usually pass out unless, I've been drinking, but I would try to do it in the Oval Office because I know I would get the best care. But everything was okay, and President Donald Trump was able to eventually continue with the major announcement and the press conference.
Just as significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Co-pays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember when I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I cut it 1/8, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Nobody else could have done it, but I say that modestly.
Yeah, I say that nobody else could have ever done this. I'm the only person in the history of the world that could have done this. But I say that modestly, which is true. I did sense some modesty in President Donald Trump and also honesty. He's the most honest president we've ever had. And that's why when he was asked about the other major news item of the day, Nancy Pelosi retiring, President Trump declined to wish her well, and instead he shared his honest feelings about Nancy Pelosi's retirement. She announced that after like a 180-year career in the House of Representatives, she's going back to San Francisco. Here's what President Donald Trump told the media in the Oval Office about Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi's retirement.
I think she's an evil woman. I'm glad she's retiring. I think she did the country a great service by retiring. I think she was a tremendous liability for the country.
And on Dick Cheney.
I thought she was an evil woman who did a poor job, who cost the country a lot in damages and in reputation. I thought she was terrible.
I thought she was terrible. I thought she was an evil person. And the fun fact about this is he's talking about her in the past tense. I mean, she's still alive, barely, but she's just retiring from Congress, headed back to San Francisco. And nobody is more upset by her retirement than her husband, Paul Pelosi, who I guess is going to have to find some new place to hang out with dudes in his underwear late at night. Anywho, back to the press conference. President Donald Trump also held a press conference with the president of Kazakhstan, who joined the Abraham Accords. J.D. Vance was there as well. And things were, things, of course, led back to where they always lead, which is the government shutdown. The government shutdown, now the longest government shutdown in history. The Democrats continuing to block payments for SNAP recipients and WIC, continuing to block payments for air traffic controllers, which is, of course, causing mayhem at many airports and cancellations of thousands of flights over this upcoming weekend. The Democrats who have refused to pay military personnel, and Donald Trump saying they're all doing this once again because they are trying to hold the country hostage until the country pays out $1.5 trillion to illegal immigrants.
The shutdown is caused by the Democrats, and we're not going to spend $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion on health care for people that came into our country illegally, many of them from prisons and many of them drug dealers and murderers, 11,888 murderers. We're not doing that, so we'll see about that. We shouldn't, they should have, as they've done always in the past, it should have just been extended. It could have been extended very easily, and it should have been.
But it wasn't, because the Democrats, that's not how they play. They've already admitted this is all the leverage that they have. And if this is all the leverage that they have, that's what they're gonna lean on. They're gonna lean on the American people's pain and suffering. They're gonna lean on the fact that military men and women cannot pay their bills. They're gonna lean on the fact that people are being disrupted because of the airline travel, and they're gonna lean on that fact. They don't care about you. They don't care about your life. They don't care about making your life better or easier or not causing you excess pain, especially around the holiday season. They don't care about any of that. All they care about are the illegal immigrants that they want to fund because they want to eventually bring them into the Democrat Party because they know it's the only way to solidify power. They can't win elections, so they need to figure out a way to boost their base. And Donald Trump says, look, there's one solution. It's a simple solution. It's something we should have done a long time ago. It's something we should definitely do now. But some spineless Republicans out there are not going to do it.
I think it's time for them to end the filibuster and just put everybody back to work. Vote in voter ID, vote in no mail-in voting except for military, faraway military, and people that are very sick. I'd like to see one-day voting. I'd like to see not 65 days of voting from all over the place. No, I'd like to clean up the elections. The border, we've done a great job. We have a great, strong border now. But I'd like to see new rules on immigration that can be fair and good, But rules that you'll never get, rules that they're never going to get. There's so many things we could put in, including tax cuts that we could get, and we could do it all ourselves. But to do that, you have to end the filibuster. The filibuster is, and they'll do it too. They'll immediately do it. What they're going to do is, what the Democrats will do is they're going to make Puerto Rico a state. They're going to make D.C. a state. They're going to pack the court. They're going to end up with more electoral votes. They're going to end up with 4 senators because of the 2 states. And they're going to do this 100%. They would have done it except Manchin and Sinema got in their way. They would have done it. So if they're going to do it, I would do it. I would do it before them.
Yeah. Donald Trump says, why are we not beating them to the punch? Why are we not doing what we know they're going to do? It's an interesting situation. It's an interesting scenario. And it's something that a lot of Republicans should probably give a lot more thought to, but they're not going to. Kayleigh McEnany, former press secretary under President Donald Trump in his first term, was asked about this yesterday, I believe, on Fox News. And she came up with something that a lot of people are not mentioning. But when you get rid of the filibuster, you can custom tailor it to your own design.
Let me make this really simple. No one's winning, not Republicans, not Democrats. When military members cannot pay their bills, when air traffic controllers are calling out because they get zeros on their paycheck, when our safety is at issue in the skies, no one is winning. We are all losing. And why? Because Democrats, they got a chance to vote to pay the military. Fine, you don't want to open up the government? How about pay the military essential workers? Guess how many Democrats voted to do that? 3. John Fetterman, Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff. 3 Democrats voted to pay the military. Now John Kennedy says, let's vote to remove our pay until military members get paid. Can't wait to see how many Democrats vote on that. Let me propose a very simple solution here. Filibuster, not in the Constitution. Filibuster, not passed legislatively. Filibuster can be removed for the sole purpose of spending bills. You can just remove the filibuster to open the government. When military members are hurting, when we are not safe in the skies, it is time to nuke the filibuster for spending bills because Democrats are hurting our country.
I mean, it's a great point that nobody mentions. The filibuster is not part of the Constitution. It's not even something that was voted in legislatively. It's a precedent set by the Senate Rules Committee, and it's something that the Senate rules could change very quickly. But it's not an unconstitutional practice. The founding fathers never meant for the founding fathers never meant for this to be part of the deal. They never meant for the minority to be able to hold the majority hostage. The way that they protected minority rule in this country was through the Electoral College. The Electoral College is something that helps the minority get a voice in Congress and has for hundreds of years. The filibuster is something the Senate created because they were upset that they weren't getting a minority situation. The minority had no power when they were, out of power because they were the minority. But the Electoral College is the check and the balance that's constitutionally created by our founding fathers to make sure that minority voices are heard. The filibuster is some made up thing that the Senate created and is now destroying a lot of Americans' livelihoods right before the holiday season. So Kayleigh McEnany is absolutely right. Get rid of it. Get rid of it just for spending bills, or as Donald Trump said, get rid of it all together. because we have some very serious situations. The Democrats still playing politics, by the way, especially with some of these lower court cases, like the court case, forcing the government to fund SNAP benefits out of an emergency fund, which J.D. Vance responded to yesterday at this press conference, saying this is ridiculous.
Yeah, look, Jackie, it's an absurd ruling because you have a federal judge effectively telling us what we have to do in the midst of a Democrat government shutdown, which what we'd like to do is for the Democrats to open up the government. Of course, then we can fund SNAP, and we can also do a lot of other good things for the American people. But in the midst of a shutdown, we can't have a federal court telling the president how he has to triage the situation. We're trying to keep as much turned on. We're trying to keep as much going as possible. The president and the entire administration are working on that, but we're not going to do it under the orders of a federal judge. We're going to do it according to what we think we have to do to comply with the law, of course, but also to actually make the government work for people in the midst of the Democrat government shutdown. If they would like to end this, we would welcome working with them to end this government shutdown, and then we wouldn't have to triage what we're going to fund and what we're not going to fund. And the last thing that I'll say is the American people are unfortunately about to start suffering some very real consequences because of the shutdown. In the past, when you had a government shutdown, you would have under the Obama administration, they would lean into all of the problems it was going to cause for the American people at the beginning of the shutdown. The president has told us to keep as much going as humanly possible. But after 30 days of this thing, 40 days of this thing, you're going to start seeing very real travel delays. That's because the Democrat government shut down. You're going to start seeing SNAP benefits run out. That's because the Democrat government shut down. They should stop this charade and open up the government. That's what we want them to do. We've been asking them to do it for 40 days. It's time.
And they have not done it yet. And if they continue to not do it, the filibuster needs to go. But unfortunately, it's not. Another case that we're watching very carefully is this Supreme Court case. And Donald Trump was asked about that. And one of the things he was asked is what happens if the court case doesn't go your way? What if these tariffs get struck down? What happens to the United States of America? And Donald Trump, again, pulled no punches and said it would be chaotic. It would be apocalyptic.
This is the best one. And we can do other things, but they're slow by comparison. Like as an example, with the 100%, I was able to do it instantaneously when we were threatened by the rare earths, as you know, the magnets. And I did it instantaneously. It was a matter of seconds. And it was a matter of seconds that I got a phone call, let's work this out. We would have had not nearly the defense that we had. It would be a shame. It would be somewhat catastrophic for our country, I have to be honest with you. I don't want to get too much involved, but what we've done, we're taking in hundreds of trillions of dollars. If you take a look at the numbers we're at $17 trillion right now. We're going to be at $21 trillion, about $21 trillion by the time I finished my first year. Biden, as an example, the Biden administration was at less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're going to be at $21 trillion for 1 year. In the history of the world, there's never been a country that's done that. Not China, not the U.S., not anybody. And a lot of that is because of the tariffs and the fact that the president is a competent president that knows how to use them. And I use them for national defense.
Yeah, we use them for national defense, which is something that not a lot of people do. We use them not just for national defense, but we use them for all kinds of things. And if this money keeps flowing into the United States of America, President Donald Trump says it's going to be like you've never seen it before. But if it doesn't, if it's stopped, then it's not just an economic problem. It's a tool that we use to negotiate with people all over the world for various different things. And it would be devastating if we lost that. Donald Trump has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and he's learned a lot of things over his lifetime. And that's something that we put in our book, Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in Any Economy. This book, as you can see by the reviews, is hilarious. It's humorous. It's inspirational. One of the most honest and precise books about Trump, says Wendy M. This book is Trumpulous. It's a must-read for those that love America and all it affords its U.S.-loving patriots. And this book is available instantly for download if you go to GoTrumpYourself.com. There's a link in the description in the show notes of this video and podcast. GoTrumpYourself.com. The new book bundle is delivered instantly. You get the ebook and the audiobook so you can read it or listen to me read it to you as the author of the book. It's pretty good, if I do say so myself. GoTrumpYourself.com. Get this book today. Start living like Trump tomorrow.